Good morning, everybody. This is again from nasscom starting our webinar series that has got so much attraction in the industry because we're bringing to you industry experts who are day in and day out running successful functions and operations across the shared services. And today we have a very relevant topic, which is running successful functions in HR, performance management, benefits, and compensation in the shared services model. So in today's day and age, high value HR activities such as recruitment, talent development, and succession planning are where companies can actually create a differentiation and where they should be focusing resources. The more that the service center can deliver in an integrated, autonomously operating service through increased connectivity and automation, the more it will optimize its own operations at the time as increasing enterprise-wide value. Without further ado, I'm going to invite our esteemed panelists who are veterans of the industry, Mr. Kapil Sharma, who's founder and CEO of Files Digital, a first-generation entrepreneur and a seasoned leader with 16 plus years of experience in various industries. Welcome, Kapil.
Hi, good morning.
Great. We also have Vijaya Krithika, Associate Vice President, HR at Movate. She plays a key role in compensation and benefits. She has dedicated over 14 years of her career to this specialized field. We also have with us Sheetal Sawant, HR head at Aeries Technology Group. Sheetal has about 20 years of HR experience in the technology, banking, financial services sector within India and the Asia Pacific region. Lastly, we also have with us Naozer Dalal, who is the Chief Executive Officer at Allsec Technologies, with 34 years of experience across the banking and business process management industry. Naozer has held a number of CXO level positions in multiple companies. So we have a very, esteemed panel who have been doing, a lot of work in this space. So I'm going to open it up with Naozer. Naozer, how is the shared services model evolving? Which are the areas you feel we are seeing more traction in terms of demand in this landscape from a HR perspective?
Thank you. Thank you all. Good morning to my co-panelists. Thank you for having me here. And of course, to all the people who are seeing us on the webinar, a very good morning. Thanks, Priya. I think it's a great question. And for this, we will sort of step back, to the whole evolution of the BPM industry, so to say, or the outsourcing space, which has actually mutated about 4 times over the last 20 or 25 years. Starting from the typical cost arbitrage model, then moving to the sort of separate value creation. Then moving to sort of co-owing, business outcomes, So as part of that, I think, HR has, seen significant traction, as per the latest nasscom report itself, HR is just after, within the BPO space and leaving IT out, HR is the second largest, vertical, so to say, just after customer lifecycle management. So, so the value of the HR outsourcing is more than the F&A space, for example, or, some of the other things. So traditionally, or typically HR outsourcing started, with the vanilla payroll, that was one of the early, early starts, of the HR outsourcing industry in terms of doing payroll and compliance management largely, So, both linked to payroll and also sort of, the non-payroll compliances. But thereafter, I think it's evolved. So it started involving other things like performance management, so the entire performance management process, right from setting KRAs, having, reminders, for, the half-yearly and full-yearly appraisals, to be done, to sort of, setting the bell curves, and the entire process around performance management. The outsourcing vertical also now includes recruiting, which also includes, some of the tools linked to recruiting, starting from the, the applicant tracking system to, to actually using, AI and analytics in terms of the entire interview process, and this sort of, and then of course, going up to the onboarding process, for selected individuals. So that's the other piece, which has sort of come in and, evolved into, into something reasonably big. Learning and development, is another area, where we have seen increasing traction. It started, of course, with the vanilla in terms of how do we, get courses online, but I think it's again evolved right from training needs identification, to sort of getting the courses online, to post coaching and post training performance evaluation, and so the entire gamut, again, there we have sort of moved across the gamut. And now, in fact, some of the more higher value added stuff, which is also HR consulting, so I'm saying, so there are solutions and there are practices within the HR outsourcing world where we, where we also do HR consulting, in terms of, strategic HR, in terms of organization design, organization redesign, organization structure development. So I think it's really gone the entire value chain, right from, the very vanilla, down to the more value added ones. Key tenets again are there in terms of bespoke solutions, which sort of cater to an individual organization needs. There is now significant tech enablement, including integration, between, the various, even if there are various standalone HR platforms. So integration across the HR platforms. And finally, of course, AI, something we are seeing increasing adoption of AI powered tools. And I think ultimately, the end, the end outcome or, the end goal is, of course, the entire employee experience management. Yeah, because no longer is HR, just a vanilla support functions. Increasingly, organizations, are, focused on enhancing their employee experience. And in fact, Allsec has been in this space for the last 25 years. And just to signal that change, we have actually rebranded our HR operations vertical as employee experience management, because we believe that, everything which we do within Allsec or within the wider HR outsourcing world, should have a direct impact on the employee experience. So along with customer experience, which is the other wing within Allsec, I think organizations are increasingly focused on employee experience.
Thank you so much for that, Naozer. Very insightful, especially the integration of HR platforms and how we've moved away from, a vanilla support structure to a more enhanced and nuanced bouquet of services. So, Krithika, like from your perspective, right? Like, how do you feel in terms of, the landscape that was and the landscape that is when it comes to the evolution?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. So I couldn't agree more with Naozer. I think he's touched upon the pivotal points and talking about the landscape, right? Shared services is a function itself. We've seen that it gone through, multiple generations, and it has evolved over time, right? In the era, and I'm also going to kind of start from, a couple of years back, we would have seen shared services as typically a back office who's doing the routine transactional charges. That was the beginning, right? That is where it is. Over the years, the landscape has changed. It has moved into ERPs, the self-service portals, etc. And today we are seeing shared services as a more proactive, who will be partnering with business, especially the HR, to drive it more a strategic function. That is where it is kind of evolved. You could see the functions as there is no limit to what you can kind of cover under shared services, because that's being enabled today with the vision that is being driven, the technology that it can kind of help with, right? Right from onboarding, like a pre-joinee onwards, right from the recruitment phase onwards, till the exit or even post-exit, shared services kind of encompasses, different functions within, the HR. And what all can come under HR and what is the landscape or which we can do is anything which has got employee centric, keeping employee in the center, empowering the employees, and where we kind of target employee experience. That's the latest one, like as Naozer rightly pointed out. That is where we see more traction. And that is where we do see that it has been changing year on year, right? in the past, it could have been a very simple, self-services portal that could be like, I would say like 10 years back. But today, what you do see repeated process automation or AI being used to kind of enable the shared services. Your chatbots are there, your use cases are being used, processed back into the model to kind of give a very predictive experience to the employees. It's a unified experience. As long as you want a unified experience across the globe, across your different functions or branches or entities, whatever the companies that might be in, then shared services is definitely a way. And we've seen it being evolved with the adaptation of technology. Technology is of course key. That we, anyways, that is one key part. But keeping the functions also aside, like what all it can kind of encompass, is immense. It's vast. Anything that being repeated, being so the transactional items. It's just not limited to the transactional items anymore, where you could kind of have a better predictive experience is what it kind of encompasses today.
Thank you so much, Krithika, for those insights. I will also ask Kapil if you can share some demonstrative examples of what the evolution has changed into, and where are you seeing the most amount of traction as well?
I think great start by Naozer and Krithika, talking about what we have seen largely. So one of the biggest evolution that we have seen is in the term itself. What started as shared services became global business services, GBS. And latest, when I was having a conversation, at one of the forums in the UK, the discussion was that it is no more GBS, which is global business services. It has now expected to become generative business services. So essentially, AI and generative AI, for that matter, has a very huge impact, apparently starting with the name itself. Now, in terms of the trend, while obviously it all started as a transactional, offshoring approach, today also about 67-68% of the shared services or GBS today is offshore or nearshore in terms of model. It is no more just HR. What we have seen is in finance, in procurement, in various other functions, there's a lot of traction which is kind of coming in. Particularly, like for example, we've got few customers who are from Middle East. They have been inclined towards having a complete high value plus high on cost arbitrage, both based support solutions or systems created for them as an ecosystem. So there's a huge traction on that side. And the focus is not really on heads anymore. The focus is on what is the value that we can generate leveraging technology. For example, one of my customer, they have created a self-serve portal, and when we had a discussion with them, it all started with creating a help desk and ended up being more than a 50 people help desk, ended up being 5 people help desk, and the rest everything being taken care of by internal solution engine focused on customized LLM. So I think there's a lot of technology reinforcement which is coming in, and it is going beyond HR into various other functions.
Thank you so much for that, Kapil. Sheetal, I want to ask you one of the important questions when it comes to anything that we're doing today is like the tech transformation, the underlying tech transformation that's actually transforming and disrupting a lot of verticals and horizontals, right? So what is the role of technology and its enablement? From your perspective, your standpoint, maybe it's an automation or any other emerging technologies, if you can throw light on that.
I think, thank you first of all for that question. I think technology has always been a key enabler, right? And this is not only specific for HR shared services, but if you look at any shared services model, which then helps to sort of for shared service to manage really large operations, because it achieves optimization. There are synergies, and then there are savings associated with with that delivery model. Since a while now, we have seen RPA having, transforming HR processes, where some of my colleagues already mentioned that, by automating repetitive, some of the time-consuming tasks and tasks which are predictive in nature, right? So technology has played a really important role in that space. What will be the differentiator is where generative AI and AI will be able to create more personalized employee user experiences. And we've already started seeing that. For example, when I log into my intranet page at Aeries, it shows my frequently used tabs, the download your payslip, track my consulting hours, etc., right? So the expectation and hence the subsequent impact from technology standpoint will be where the effective and efficiency in a process is being followed with enough room for flexibility and personalization. Also, let's not forget how important data is to make the decisions, right? I mean, the reporting functionality within the HR shared services has always been the most critical to just understand some of these trends. I think with AI now coming in, supporting and technology sort of taking a larger space in that, what's helping is we are able to recognize emerging trends. We are able to see employee behavior, and this predictive analysis then helps the organization better understand, anticipate what the employee needs are. Gone are the days of that one size fits all kind of service model, right? And we are soon moving into creating a service delivery to personalize the experience and being relevant to the employees. This is what I feel makes an impact specifically from an AI point of view.
Thank you so much, Sheetal. So, Krithika, what are your thoughts on, tech enablement and adoption? Like, how has HR services actually used tech, and what are certain things that have changed because of certain emerging technologies that have been used?
Sure. See, shared services itself evolved as a concept because you wanted to kind of, bring in optimization, etc. That is the starting point somewhere, some era back, right? And for us to achieve that, any amount of any technology is definitely going to help, because it is also going to depend the organization in which maturity stage that they are in, right? But with the technology that's being there in the market today, we've seen, in my experience, I've seen it evolve. That's a backbone, and it has evolved beautifully with the adaptation of each of the technology trends that is coming up, right? One of the examples that I could kind of quote in my experience, as a CNB lead, I'm responsible for delivering, a compensation revision management globally. Now, when we talk about global, we are talking about multiple countries, all grades, multiple functions, and different categories of, groups of employees here. The objective is to kind of ensure your cycle happens on time, efficiently, without any error, talking about merit salary cycle, and you want a unified employee experience across the globe. It is not that we want to give a special experience for somebody where your headcount is high and not bother about a very small sales office could be sitting somewhere in the mid of Europe, right? All of it, when you want to kind of deliver a high efficient unified experience, then definitely shared services come into play. Now, here, what was done in my experience was to kind of identify the work which can be moved to the shared services, so that that team takes care of, running the program. It could be in terms of you generating the letter. It could be in terms of ensuring the letter hits the employee's inbox right on time. If we say July 1st is your comp revision, come 30th of June, 12 o'clock, the letter is in the inbox of every individual. And I'm talking about the scale of 25,000 employees, so that everyone gets a unified experience out there, right? And all of this has to happen without any error. and also kind of embracing whatever categories of changes that you want to bring in within the cycle. It could be any salary structure change. Just imagine the amount of different salary structure models for companies, etc. But at the same time, ensuring that, yes, you and me, being a different part of the globe, have got the same experience. All of this is possible with the help of technology only. Just imagine if we have to run this exercise without the shared services model, or in the absence of a technology, each of the offices would be doing it in their way. All right. There's no doubt you would have a personal experience because it is your local HR giving it. But shared services is always a balance between your high tech and high touch. You do not want to also go too personally because you will not be able to sustain as you grow bigger. Right. Today, I might be happy to give an employee a very special experience today in sitting in my office. But tomorrow, when my office grows out to be 1,000, 10,000 headcount, I might not be able to give the same experience as what I'm giving it today. But however, to have a uniformity, we would be able to achieve this through a technology in a shared services model. Secondly, if I have to give other examples, the chatbots being used today, in the beginning, we did have help desks, we did have self-service portals, etc. But if there are any employee queries, just imagine a chatbot answering for you, right? I could go and apply my leave, just say, open the chat window, say, apply PL for 5 days, apply, whatever vacation from this date to this date. And just by a click of the button, the leave application is done. The self-service portals, what was on your laptops and desktops, have moved into your hands today because we've done app enabled, voice-based app, request being raised, and the transactions getting over. So there are ample opportunities, and it is kind of evolved. There are multiple examples that we could go over this. But again, as I said, some of it is all keeping employee experience. If I have a query and I'm sitting in a large office, I know my HR, but still reaching out, etc., might not be time viable. But there is my chatbot who could answer my question in no time, and that I'm happy about it, right? And be it any data point that I need about could be my own, address proof letters, my compensation revision letters, my pay slips, all are available to me at the click of a button on my app in my mobile. Then that makes it easier for me. So these are some of the examples that I could quote right now. I could kind of come back for more examples as well.
Sure, Krithika. I think that was, definitely gave us a perspective on the unified experience and how, it's done in a timely manner with as little error as possible, and of course keeping the employee experience as the center, right? Kapil, what is your views on impact of technology?
No, I think the impact is phenomenal, and I would rather talk about the positives of it. It has actually pushed people to, go beyond their boundaries to what they thought wasn't possible or what they would not learn. They've started focusing on that learning, in fact, to a level wherein in some of the use cases, what we have done is that we have started programs of upskilling of people with some learning academies, collaborating with platforms available widely, as well as internal or virtual instructor-led programs and self-learning programs. And this is only possible because this has been made possible because the way the technology is changing the landscape, it's just mind-boggling. I'll give you an example. One of the scenarios wherein for every issue or a concern, an employee is expected or was expected to go pole to post, right? I'm like level 1 escalation, level 2 escalation, level 3 escalation, and you're actually asking the person who's already having a grievance to go pole to post, and this was impacting the overall experience of the person itself. So what we essentially did, and this is leveraging a custom LLM model, a generative AI-based chatbot for a specific scenario, wherein the employee, if he or she or they need to register a complaint, they can simply go on WhatsApp, because you need to make it frictionless. correct? You cannot expect them to go to an HRMS, go to a particular tab portal, and then kind of mention what exactly is the issue that they have, select the department and all of that. So instead of that, for them, it's just a single platform, which is WhatsApp, easily available, directly accessible. Go write your query or write your issue. It will automatically detect who it needs to go to, goes to that person, and internally on the platform itself, there are service levels defined. So if it is not done at level 1, the update is automatically sent to the employee, and then an escalation is done to the level up. And if it is not done, it can go higher up the hierarchy. Now, what it has done is that it has eliminated a lot of time shared services people or HR people were spending on emails and calls, correct? Wherein I had requested this has not happened. I had asked for this has not happened. So about 40 to 45% of the time that was going there has been, kind of saved. And then you can expect people to do more with whatever they have, right? So we have seen one airline use case. We've seen a large pharma use case wherein there are a lot of people on field. Unfortunately, they don't get FaceTime with their HR folks, right? And there are thousands of people on field. How do you make sure that you kind of give them right experience? Now, if they're talking to somebody, they would always want to talk to that person only. Now, it becomes very, very difficult in a shared services or a GBS model to kind of provide that kind of support. So from that perspective, technology has played, I think, a great role. And it is only going to get better from here. One of the, maybe if I can take another 30 seconds, one of the examples for a large hospitality company, and they've got 20 different businesses, both consumer side as well as business side, supplier side as well as customer side. And there are a lot of different kind of, invoices, requests, payments, all of those things coming from everywhere. How do you make sure that towards the end of the day, you are clear about who needs to do what? The entire workflow was broken. All people dependent. Today, we have implemented technology to such a level that the user just kind of, on a click of a button, submit something, automatically goes through the process. The user gets an update, and there are more people involved in value generation rather than just transactional stuff. So I think technology has got a huge role to play. It has already started playing its part. And, as I was talking at one of the Gartner forums, it looks like in next 3 to 5 years' time, at least 30 to 40% more efficiency improvement would come, if not more.
Great. Thank you so much for that, Kapil. Moving to you, Naozer, wanted you to touch upon like how is the industry navigating through regulatory compliances from a shared services perspective?
Sure, Priya. So I think there are two ways to look at it. One is shared services within India, in terms of the kind of models which large Indian conglomerates may run. And then, of course, the other are some of the global shared services, where, and that's more for the multinational side, where sitting out of India, one may look at, as Sheetal or Vijaya also mentioned about, looking at a number of territories from India. So one, of course, a very basic one is having respective compliance teams, or officers, understand, the nuances of within India or within the jurisdiction, So for example, let's say the compliance function. Within the compliance functions, we definitely need legal officers, and in fact, that's what we do. Of course, our compliance business is largely India focused, but, so we have the relevant experts, who sort of not only guide customers, who sort of, ensure that, customers remain up to date of the statutory changes, who liaison, with the regulatory and the statutory authorities or the bodies, where a lot of filings and e-filing happens, So I think, so that's an absolute must. So we definitely need SMEs, to sort of ensure that we remain on top. But the other part which comes in, of course, as I said, people who are experienced at working in various regions or jurisdictions, and so that, their knowledge comes to bear, on the work done by the parent, because this is such an important area, and particularly people-related compliances, are absolutely, getting more and more, tighter, including the latest focus on, the whole data protection and privacy, which has also been, flagged off in the Indian Parliament on 11th of August. So definitely, SMEs and legal experts is one part of it. The other part is how do we use tech to sort of ensure that, we remain on track, So there are, we too have, there are enough, platforms available in the market, which keep a track of, the timetable of regulatory compliances, the fact that whether these are filed on time, an escalation matrix to ensure, these happen. And then, of course, the platform also acts as a repository, all the compliances, and then, of course, there are various cuts one can have, so compliance by act, compliance by state, stroke region, compliance by periodicity, of the reach out one has to make. So, so effectively, what I'm trying to say is that it's really is a kind of man-machine kind of model, which sort of ensures, that, our compliances remain on track. And I think the last